When discussing potential Cooper Flagg and his place among the greatest players in Duke University history, we must first establish the criteria by which we evaluate greatness. Individual greatness in this context is not about declaring someone the greatest of all-time GOAT, but rather determining whether they belong in the conversation as one of the all-time greats, a title often reserved for those who leave an indelible mark on their program. The Mount Rushmore of Duke basketball refers to the top 4 players whose careers define the Blue Devils' legacy, and while Flagg's remarkable skills have turned heads across the nation, there remains skepticism about whether he can usurp the likes of Christian Leitner or Grant Hill, 2 players whose careers have left a lasting imprint on the program. Leitner's 2 national championships and Player of the Year honors, along with Hill's stellar 4-year tenure, provide an undeniable foundation for their status as Duke legends. The question, however, becomes whether Cooper Flagg, if he were to win both the National Player of the Year award and a national championship, could etch his name alongside those icons. From a pure statistical standpoint, he would still face an uphill battle, especially when it comes to surpassing the monumental impact of Leitner and Hill. But it's hard to ignore the raw talent that Flagg has displayed, a freshman already exhibiting the kind of dominance that makes the idea of him becoming one of the program's best all-time players compelling. Certainly, a case could be made for Jay Williams, another Duke standout who, despite his relatively brief 2-year college career, won the National Player of the Year award and led the Blue Devils to a national championship. Williams' body of work is undeniably impressive, with over 100 career starts and a fearless competitive spirit that made him a centerpiece of Duke's success during his time. Still, comparing him to the current crop of one-and-done stars presents a unique challenge. While Flagg's impact as a freshman has been immense, his lack of a full college career leaves room for debate, especially when examining his place against players who had more time to cement their legacies at Duke. But one cannot ignore the broader context in which Flagg is operating. With the proliferation of nil deals, the transfer portal, and the increasing number of players jumping to the NBA after a single college season, the landscape of college basketball has changed drastically. Flagg's ability to make such a significant impact as an 18-year-old speaks volumes about his skill set, leadership, and the high expectations that come with being a top recruit in today's game. His performances, particularly in high-stakes games like the NCAA tournament, where he has put up jaw-dropping numbers, further elevate his status as a player who has risen to the occasion under immense pressure. However, one of the most important factors in this discussion is the recognition of Duke's historical context. The Blue Devils are a program built on the success of players who have spent multiple years developing their skills and contributing to the team's legacy. The likes of Leitner, Hill, and Williams were not just great individual players, but they were the bedrock of Duke's championship teams. Comparing their 4-year careers to the 1-year flashes of brilliance seen in today's college basketball stars is difficult, as the sustained excellence of these players holds tremendous weight when considering all-time greatness. Ultimately, while Cooper Flagg's talent and potential are undeniable, there is an inherent challenge in comparing his 1 year of dominance to the full body of work that players like Leitner, Hill, and Williams compiled over their careers. It's a complicated discussion, as it forces us to weigh the extraordinary against the consistent, and to consider the evolving nature of college basketball in an era defined by immediate success and instant gratification. If Flagg can lead Duke to a national championship and claim Player of the Year honors, there's no question that his place among the program's all-time greats will be firmly secured. But whether he cracks the top 4, joining the likes of Leitner, Hill, and Williams, is a question that requires more than just raw talent. It requires sustained success and a kind of legacy that only time and championship glory can provide. Cooper Flagg is undoubtedly one of the most electrifying young talents to ever wear a Duke jersey. His remarkable performances have brought attention to his name, and his potential to become a generational talent is undeniable. But as with all great players, the full measure of his impact on the Duke program will only be clear once his college career is complete. In the end, greatness isn't just about 1 or 2 incredible seasons. It's about what you leave behind when the lights go out. If Flagg can continue to develop, win championships, and lead Duke to glory, he may very well secure his place among the legends of the Blue Devils. For now, however, he is still building his legacy, and the conversation remains open.